Hi everyone. So my name is Jason Barkley, also known as J.M. Barkley from my book Unchosen, which happened to become an Amazon bestseller. And this video is advice from me to all the actors out there, all the struggling artists. And before I get into anything, one of the things that you really need to ask yourselves is whether or not you're ready for an adventure, whether or not you're ready to be the hero, whether or not you're ready for a whole new experience that can hopefully take both your and your audience's breath away. Now, I don't mean this in some kind of like aggrandized, um, over optimistic path, but I just mean like, are you ready for like a real adventure as an actor? Um, and I know that sounds rhetorical, but it's not. Being an actor is not um, a walk in the park um, kind of path. And I know a lot of you are saying, no shit. I mean, when you're getting jobs, it's no walk in the park. I don't mean the struggle of getting a job. And the better you understand the struggle of nailing your job or your roles, the better you'll get roles, if that makes sense. And no matter what, just remember that at the moment that you decide and commit to never giving up, there is no longer such a thing as failure. I myself have gone from near death to an Amazon bestseller. So trust me, if I can pull my life back together and start achieving my dreams, then so can you. There is nothing in your way. Trust me. So on this video, I wanted to give just a bunch of general advice for all the actors out there. And for any of you interested, I am also starting up an acting class and looking for free volunteers to make it a full class, so that when new people or you audit the class, it's a full class already, and you don't have all that awkward audit a class with 2 people in it stuff. So one of the first thing that a lot of actors take for granted is the importance of professionalism. And now, professionalism, I don't mean being nice to the AD or the director. I don't mean just memorizing your lines to when you think you have them. That's childish professionalism. And if I'm not trying to insult anyone if that's all you knew about acting, but in the acting world, that's childish professionalism. True professionalism, it's like the weatherman saying of, beyond hail, rain, we will get our deliveries there. Um, I'm totally butchered that saying, but you get the point of you are committed to telling the story. And that includes many things that a lot of actors don't realize. And this video, and in this video with tips and near the end, I'll include a lot of things, and everything that I say an actor should do, that's the professional thing to do. Any of these things that you don't do, to that degree, you're not a professional, and you're not really ready for bigger roles. And with that in mind, a lot of actors wish they could just get a big break, that they could just get a chance to show their stuff. But trust me, if you are if you are not ready for a big role and you get it, it could be one of the worst things that happen in your career, because you'll be seen widely as an amateur actor, and it'll be very hard for other studios to trust you again. And so I'm not saying if you get a big break, you should turn it down, because a lot of the people in casting, they're smart. And the casting agents are actually your friends more than you realize it. You and casting agents, you kind of have sort of a bond between each other, sort of a commitment. And the deal is that you're both there to figure out if you're ready for this role. And if you're not ready, don't worry, they won't give it to you. You should be... See, a true professional, really cares, not just a lot about life and the role. They just truly give a shit. And the casting director, so as a professional, you should not care about how quickly you can increase your rates, or whether or not you book the role. That should be an afterthought. The main thing you should care about is, can I actually do this role? Can I actually, as a person, as an actor, as an artist, bring something to the table? That should be your first question. So you should see those casting directors not as enemies or opponents or as an obstacle, but as your allies in your career as an actor. And if you do not have the skill or or the physique or whatever that you need for a role, don't worry. There's plenty of time. And one of the hardest things, I think, in an actor's life is the heavy amount of commitment that you need to both self-improvement, your health, your education, your practice with your craft, your trying to increase your level of how much you give a shit in general. Like a Jedi can be measured by, what was it, the melatonin or something in their system. I forget the word, but there's an actual chemical. For an actor, you can see how powerful or how much potential an actor is by how much they actually give a shit about life and then for the role. But it all starts with them as a person. You can't pretend to give a shit if you really don't in real life. You can look like you can, but audiences are past the point of wanting to see actors that are performing. Audiences worldwide prefer actors that really try to live the role. And the better the actor lives the role, the more the audience can enjoy it, the less critical they will be of the movie, and the more they'll be able to receive messages of the movie. It's just the more you really learn to give a shit in general, but then really go for the journey. It's not just going to be better for your career, but it's going to be better for everyone that works with you. And again, that's also where professionalism really comes into play. Really knowing yourself and how quick you are to doing all these things that an actor needs to do that I will get to soon, and how courteous you are. How that doesn't mean that you have to take bullshit or you have to take harassment. You have to know how you handle those things as a professional. If, for example, if you're sexually harassed, you can't necessarily just wig out, right? Yes, that's not okay. Yes, you should get it handled, but in a calmly professional manner. Worst case, let's say the director is sexually harassing you on set. Then you just very firmly tell him, excuse me, but this is sexual harassment, and I'm not going to stand for it. I'm going to take a 10-minute break, and to get back into character, and for you to get over your puberty. I don't know. So it's like your big ass warning. And then if that same person tries to attempt anything again, that's the end of the shoot. Call the police, call whoever, and a lot of actors fear that if something bad is gonna happen to them, they should just like turn the other cheek and take it, because it is a small world, and there are some directors and filmmakers in high places that will try to slander you if you don't put up with something. You can't worry about that. Part of being a professional is not letting yourself or others being treated like shit. So if you see a co-star or someone else on set, it's tough, but you need to learn how to stand up. And how to stand up for stuff, that's something that I myself am trying to learn. And you have to learn how you can handle situations without making things worse, making anyone wrong, without choosing sides. It's a tough art, but at the least, just don't let yourself get pushed around, because that kills your integrity. And without your integrity, there is nothing left. Trust me. And I know I've rambled a little bit, but so first and foremost, you can't give up. You always have to stay committed. And there are things I can tell you to do where you can book more auditions, but if you're paying attention, that's not what you want. You simply want to keep getting better, with your health, with your education as a person. Who you are as a person is a big part of whether or not you get a role. You don't want someone who's actually a murderer or who's, and it's really hard to work people that are actually rednecks. You want to work with people that are intelligent, that you can have a conversation with, that you can bet your life that they'll show up to set. Um, and I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, so you can't give up. Self improvement is really the key. And now here is a quick rundown of what I suggest actors do for roles in general. Training is another thing, but in general, let's say you're just blast submitting on LA Casting. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing that at all because I notice when I do stuff, the people that just blast submit and then actually look at what the project is, say a student project or whatever, when I go to book them, and I see similar people that always submit for smaller stuff that I do, but then never actually confirm to the audition. And when I see those people on bigger stuff, you can bet I'm not going to go anywhere near them. So you do want to take at least some care on what you're submitting to. I would prefer you take really big care. But in the beginning, it might be a little tough. You might just not hear back from enough, so you just have to be careful about it. You can't let yourself get really sloppy with this. But generally, you want to find a project that hits you in some way. It excites you, it pisses you off, it moves you, you get it. It's like there's a reaction. You don't want to go ahead with scripts or projects that where nothing clicks. It doesn't matter how much it's getting paid, how much it's paying. You don't want to do it. If you the whole process breaks apart when you try to do a script that you don't like. It doesn't work. And at best, you're going to be seen as a mediocre actor, and it's going to be a negative dent on your career. So first, find a script that hits you. And let's just say somehow, which you shouldn't let happen, but if it does happen, you're stuck in a script. You should at least be able to give feedback and insight and updates to the script until it can hit you. Now, I'm not saying to let yourself get complicated. Don't commit to a role until it hits you, until you know you want to be part of the crew of this thing. Because once you commit, there's no going back. Because if you commit to something and then you step out for whatever reason, you're blacklisted for life from that director, that casting director, and that small-time director might be a casting director on a big project. So, and it's a very small town. So trust me, you do not want to flake. Once you commit, that's it. Unless something really big turns up, or something they didn't disclose to you, that's a big deal. All those are understandable, but the last thing you want to do is step out like a week or days before the shoot when they just don't have time to replace you and the whole thing crumbles into the ground. Because then that you're not only blacklisted, they'll harbor evil intentions towards you, and they might do a smear campaign. So once you commit, that's it. You're committed. One thing a lot of actors wish they could have more time on set for proper direction, lighting, and everything. But those same actors will take days, or maybe even a week, to reply to emails, if at all. And one thing actors don't realize is everything starts once they are booked or confirmed. Like you don't start really booking the crew or locations if you're not sure if the actors are available. Everything starts with the actors. So if the actors are really slow in their communications, that production will probably never work with them again. It's just not worth it. It's too much of a pain. There's too many big questions. There's too many changes that only actors that are fast to respond to their emails is the base amount of professionalism needed to produce a project. So yeah, that's I guess tip number 2 of be really fast at answering emails. Maybe not within seconds, but at least within a few minutes to a max an hour. And a lot of actors are worried but if I respond too quickly, I might seem as desperate. And if I, I mean, at best it can depend who's actually what they're asking you about. If it's something related to production, then you should answer it as fast as fucking possible. If it's like the director's also flirting with you or asking you on a date, ignore those emails, right? Um, it's fine, whatever. And one quick note on Casting Couch, and I hope this isn't too confusing the way I kind of like bounce around, but casting couches are a bad idea for two reasons. One is that it kills your integrity, and remember, once your integrity is gone, nothing's left, and you no longer have like a purpose in life, and you'll just be like super depressed. You'll be like a living robot zombie, yada yada. Two is that, like I said earlier, you don't want a role that you're not actually prepared for. But you don't want a role that you're not actually prepared for. That you don't want any role that you can't earn through your professionalism and talent alone, right? You want no bonuses. You want no little things that throw you over the edge, because you want to keep that trust between you and the casting director and the director that, hey, neither of us will cast me in this unless I'm ready, because I don't want to hurt the project or my career. So I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be me. I'm going to do the best I can. And if that's not enough, no biggie. I'll keep training. If that's enough, then great. I'm going to work my fucking ass off. And, also on that note, a lot of actors and crew and even some professionals, not professionals because this isn't a professional, but will depend on how much they give to a project, depending on how much they're getting paid. That's the dumbest philosophy I've ever heard about, and that's quick to kill anyone's career. It has to be Japanese philosophy of do everything as if it was life or death. It's all or nothing. Now, I'm not saying to be a frantic control freak on set. I'm just saying it's all or nothing. If it's a student project, if you're not getting paid as an actor, so the fuck what? If you're in the project, it's all the way. You don't if they don't have the budget to pay you to go to rehearsals, then don't demand it. Rehearsals are, and I'll get to this hopefully soon. Rehearsals are an integral part of the project. And I know a lot of actors out there say, yeah, I know that, but I'll bet you at least a third of these things, 1 to 2/3 of these things you've never heard about, and you have to nail them all. Like on the side, I'm a professional Uber driver, and I can't get most of the ride right. I can't do you need to aim for a perfect driving ride. As an actor, you need to aim to try and give the studio and the director a perfect experience working with you as a professional. So I'll continue the actor's the actor's journey through this role. All right, so they found a role that they like and that hits them. Look up the director. Looked up the casting agency. See what the last things they did are. If you like those projects, and if you find it hard to be critical of them, then you can do an arms wide open approach, right? If the last projects they did were either not listed or just super amateur, then you'd have to go forward with a control freak approach. I wouldn't say control freak. Now, this is assuming that you are professional and you already have a lot of credits. If you have no credits and you're working for free for someone that has no credits, you have no right to be a control freak. No one has a right to be a control freak. We're all professionals here. But if you have a lot of experience and you're an accomplished actor who happens to find themselves considering working with a very underexperienced director or agency, you have to get the okay to be a little bit of a dick, or it's not going to be worth your time, and it could become a negative dent in your career. Because newer directors love to give really stupid direction, like, yeah, could you do this just like Tom Cruise was in Top Gun, and action. I kid you not. Using other movies or actors as adjectives to describe what a director wants you to do in a scene is very frowned upon. And I'm not saying it's always bad. Like, and this isn't even an exception. This is like a good version of it, of the director and actor watching a movie together and going, okay, see this scene, this movie, you see how there's like this kind of like chemistry. All right, how can we create that in prep, not on the day? In prep, and they're like, oh, okay, I can understand maybe this kind of history, and they try and get into it, and you try to build up the history, as we'll get to soon in the process. So you get that difference, and that's also one of the biggest challenges actors have to face, is that they have to work with newer directors that don't know how to direct at all. If you're lucky enough to get an actor's director, think your lucky stars, but you still need to work with them. Let's just assume that this company that you're submitting to, you like their stuff. And there's not a big difference between whether or not you're about to work with someone who's under you or above you, but it's just, you need to really be careful. But let's just say you're working with someone who is, or a team that is above you. And I do the bunny ears because no one's really better than another person. People are just more professional, skilled, whatever. So yeah, I don't really believe in elitism. I believe that people can be more skilled, but I don't necessarily believe that that gives them a right to look down on others, if that makes sense. So yeah, but I digress again. So let's just assume you're working with a place that's above you, and just open, get the script, and you want to memorize that script to the point where you can say it at the speed of light without having to look at the script. Most actors would memorize the script to the speed of, say your line was, "The sky is blue." They would go, "The sky is blue." Got it, memorized. And the problem is, if you only memorize a script that much and you show up to set, you're gonna feel stressed. There's gonna be a big ass camera in your face. There's gonna be a crew. There's gonna be, butt crack grips. I'm not saying all grips are butt crack grips. I'm just saying there will be a butt crack grip staring at you while itching his butt while you're trying to perform. There's gonna be that guy. And if you only have the lines memorized to that point that I said earlier, they're gonna get to you. Any negative energies on set it's gonna get to you. But when you get to the point of when you can say it this fast of "the sky's blue," the whole script, all your lines, including the last word that leads to your line, we can say it that fast. You're not going to have any attention on set, and the extra stress, pressure, and negative or conflicting energies on set will not be enough to get to you just by memorizing the script that much more. It takes a lot more work, but it's worth it. When you start to really put this into play and you see how much time it really takes to memorize the lines that much, and you might start to feel like, whoa, this is way too much time for a pre-project. But again, I'm saying it's all or nothing. If you are not prepared to give a project everything you got, and do this full process, don't do it. If this feels too much, I'm sorry, but you might want to consider acting later. You might want to consider another field. Acting, in the entertainment industry, it's a very grunt work first, maybe rewards later, kind of a career. And you have to, and it's tough, and that's why I say one of the hardest things for actors is finding the motivation to really train, to really work on their self-improvement, and really commit to these projects, because for quite a little bit, it's not going to be for much money. But if you commit to all these things, like I'm saying, there's no longer that much competition. So you see, it's a swinging scale. In the beginning, there's all this competition and there's all this work. But when you really commit to all these things that I'm saying, there is no such thing as competition. There is not a plethora of professional actors in Hollywood. There is a disgusting shortage of actors that are so professional, you could bet your life that they'll show up to set and they'll have their stuff together. And that's where you need to get as a professional. So again, there's not for if you really commit to everything I'm saying in this video, and if you've even watched this far, then props, you've probably gotten further than a lot more actors are willing to. Like, a lot of actors are looking for advice of how to nail the audition. Very few actually want advice on how to improve their game as a person, as an actor. So props for making it this far. So memorize it to this your lines to the speed of light, and then write a little, maybe 1-2 paragraphs history. I wouldn't write too much history because the more history you write has a negative effect on your motivation if you don't get the job. So just 1 or 2 paragraphs is fine for the audition, and uh, and then anything you need to do to better feel like you are the character. Like if the character's a martial artist, go to a martial arts class. You don't have to spend $1 million. You can go to Meetup and do a $10 class. Like just do a little bit before the audition to really be able to help you feel like you're in the character's shoes. If he's a thug, go to bars that are not in war zones or anything, but um, but are rough enough where you can get the idea, but safe enough so that you're not actually risking your life. Um, and this is all before the audition. Now, if it's just an improv audition, you're still allowed to ask questions about your character. There's still going to be a character description that you're going for, um, uh, and you want to go into that audition at least with really understanding who your character is in the background. So ask those questions, even if it's an improv only. And when you ask questions as an actor, you immediately go to the top of the list of people that seem to give a shit. When an actor never asks any questions, never has any feedback, nothing, you assume they don't give a shit, and you assume they're not going to show up to set if you book them. So it's really important to ask questions. It's really important to give a shit in general. Not to pretend to give a shit, because people will see through that, but to actually give a shit. It's the art of giving a shit. So you go to the audition, and remember, you're not trying to get the role. That's not what you're trying to do, despite what you think. If your goal in the audition is to get the role, that's an unattainable goal in the moment. They're gonna call it. It's very rare they'll tell people on the spot, "Congrats, you got it." It's an unattainable goal in the moment. It's like a goal of getting rich, just on a larger scale. And when you have an unattainable goal, you feel like you can't get it because it's unattainable. So you have to have an attainable goal. And your attainable goal in any audition is just to be yourself and be honest with your strengths and weaknesses, and honestly ask yourself, with the casting directors as your allies, can I do this role? Right? There's nothing wrong with you being in the middle of an audition. There's nothing wrong with you going, "Oh my God, I think I can do this." It's no one's pre-assuming you're walking into the audition knowing everything about the character and really knowing for sure if you can nail it or not. People assume that you're not ready for the role. You're in auditions, you're assumed to be unfit for the part until proven fit, if that makes sense. So your goal, just be yourself, be honest, do your best, and if you don't get it, no sweat, just keep training. If you do get it, great, work your fucking ass off, and then let's say you finally get a role, right? This is when you really want to talk with the director, and you don't wait to be contacted about rehearsals, about the character. You're talking to the director. I'd say a decent actor is one that answers their emails really fast. An amazing actor that's just like a gift from God is the one that initiates the emails to the director saying, "Hey, so I'd like to talk to you about my character and development. When is a good time for you?" And be pushy about it. Some directors might tell you like, "Oh, look, don't worry. Just, show up on set and you'll do great." You need to be pushy in a way that doesn't piss people off. Because if you're pushy about trying to get rehearsals in time, it just makes to the morons out there that you're gonna be working with, it makes them think that you're insecure, the one who wants to do rehearsals, right? And I would just suggest being as professional and kind as possible, saying, "Oh, of course, I'm gonna nail it," but I prefer to get my questions out of the way instead of throw them all around the room on set. That's probably not a good way to say it. But it's that idea, and I wouldn't even want to come up with a phrase that you use every time. So it has to be you talking to the director, just honestly, like, okay, great. But you should never say, well, if we don't do any rehearsals, I'm going to suck and the whole project's going to ruin. And then it's always on a positive note. Whenever you're asking for changes, it's always on a positive note of, so say, for example, you hate something in the script. You go, all right, and I have a little, I don't understand this part. All right, if you don't like something in a script, you never dismiss it. You always try to understand it more first, right? So say there's something you don't understand, you go, hey, this part I really don't understand. I don't quite get it. It's not jiving with me. Could you give me your ideas about it? You talk to them, maybe talk to the writer, and if it's still not jiving, then talk to the director again and get, okay, I took some time to actually think about what you said. Don't do all those motions and everything, they'll fire you. And I still don't get it. And here's a few ideas that I had. Would you be willing to just listen and see what you think? And if they're a smart director, they'll know that they'll get a better if they'll get a better performance, letting you slightly change their vision to something that's not perfectly theirs, but is something that you're more comfortable with. You'll get a better performance, and it'll be a better project overhaul. But you're going to be working with morons, remember. So most likely that stupid thing in the script or the stupid phrase you're going to be stuck with. And you're just going to have to learn how to own it, right? Like if you're in the middle of a dining room table and your line's cock-a-doodle-doo and it's the stupidest line in the world, just figure out how to own that line. Sell that shit, right? That's the only thing you can do. And then there's something sneaky you can do, but you can't. Don't let them catch you or tell them that you got this idea from me. But make a mistake on set when you're speaking with the characters, where you say it. Don't make the mistake the first take. Make it like the second one. Let all the kinks of the lighting and sound to be gotten out of the way. Which you always lose the first take for kinks. And on the second take, then just make the mistake and say it the way that makes more sense for you. So just say it the way that makes more. So just say it the way that makes more sense for you, and then sorry. After the cut, of course, yeah, I'll say it back. So at least you have a take of saying it the way that you wanted it. It's sneaky, but sometimes that might save the whole project. So in the timeline, you're still working with the director. You're trying to do rehearsals. You're trying to build up your history. You're trying to really build your character. Spend time going to a Taekwondo class if your character knows Taekwondo, and really spend a lot of time to really try to master your character. It doesn't matter if you're not getting paid for this. It's all or nothing. You don't just want a bunch of empty credits that mean nothing on IMDb. You want to have you don't want your demo reel to be filled with you doing like decent moments. You want it to be filled with you being kicking ass, and not trying to perform, but really be yourself. All right, so the few weeks have gone by. You rehearsed. You've got your whole. You're really into the shoes of the character, and also write an emotional journal for your character. Because the reason is that a lot of people worry about continuity. If you don't know what continuity is, look it up. I'm not going to explain that one. And I'll just quickly say it's that that life continues in the scene without anything going out of place. So from shot to shot, everything was done the same, so that things don't magically appear that weren't there, and so on. But look up continuity. It's really important because as an actor, you have to learn how to match your actions in a way that doesn't pull you out of believing that this is real, which is hard. The more directions you have, the more things you have to match, the harder that gets. And that's one of the things you have to work on as an actor. continuity is really big. It's not just a scriptie's job. That's your job as an actor to match your own actions. But one thing that people rarely look at is emotional continuity, and that's where that emotional journal helps. And you wrote down how you felt before the shoot, so that when you jump to scene 3, you have your own emotional journal notes of what the previous scene was like. And that just makes the whole emotional continuity aspect a lot easier. And most directors don't think about this yet until they're more established. But this is, you own you. You are the boss of that character. You have to own it. And often, just expect directors to not be good directors. You can't bitch about them. Just, you know that. And they'll often give you direction that will break an emotional continuity at the end or beginning of a scene. And that's your point to spot that and go, oh, hey, I get that you want me to get really pissed off at the end of the scene and start yelling, but at the beginning of the very next scene, and there's no time in between. If there's time in between, then yes, you can give them room for breaking emotional continuity because time has passed. But assuming time hasn't passed from one scene to the next, shots back to back, and they're trying to give you direction that'll break the emotional continuity, just point it out. Say, hey, at the top of the next scene, I have tears going down my face. And at the end of this scene, you want me yelling. Now, that's a dumb, obvious example. It's a minutia that really matters, but I hope that gives you food for thought to start training with. And yeah, then on set, when you're on set, just like be yourself, do your best, don't stress, don't stress about stressing. And I think I've, told you enough for now. And I wish you all the best. And, one thing on set, if you're running behind time, you cannot ask for a take where you make your own choices. But if everything's running okay, then you can ask the director, hey, can we do one more take? And I want to do it like this. They might say no. Okay. If they say yes, great. So yeah, and I hope all of this has been at least a help of some kind. And again, you're welcome. I wouldn't say anyone's welcome to take my class for free. You will have to do a Skype interview, and I want to make sure the only decent people, get into this class. But yeah, so anyways, I wish you all the best of luck in your careers and your journeys of trying to make a difference out there. The world needs it. The world needs you. And again, there is a desperate shortage of professional actors out there. And I hope that you'll be one of them. Cheers.